What are the differences between Mandarin and Cantonese? They're both dialects of Chinese, right? So what's the difference? So in general, most words are very much the same. It's just pronounced differently. For example, in Mandarin, 我要叉烧包 versus in Cantonese, 我要叉烧包. They're written the exact same way. The only difference is how you pronounce it. For an English example, let's say I recently realized that English people laugh at you when you say tomato, tomato, instead of tomato. Thanks. But yeah, so usually they're just spoken differently. However, there are some key differences. So Mandarin is more of a standardized Chinese. There are more words in Cantonese that don't exist in Mandarin, whereas in Mandarin there are, I don't know of any, maybe I'm just not that versed in Mandarin, but I don't think there are that many words in Mandarin that are not present in Cantonese. To kind of go more deep in that, when you're giving a speech or when you're like writing a song, most of those words will use the Mandarin version of it rather than the colloquial version of that word that we say. If I use the word soda in English, right? People would understand what I mean. However, there are certain places in the US that will use different words. They'll use pop, they'll use Coke even, and they will use soda. But the moment you say the word soda, they know, oh, you're not from there. That's kind of the same relation between Mandarin and Cantonese for specific words. So I thought I'd share some that are very common that you might want to know if you're learning Cantonese. The first two are very prevalent. Yes and no. So those are very basic that you should definitely know. No in Mandarin is usually bu, or the Cantonese equivalent is but. Whereas in Cantonese, we usually don't use that word. Usually we'll use which means no as well, or not. In Mandarin, for yes, they'll say shi, or the Cantonese equivalent is si. But then in Cantonese, when we're speaking, you'll usually use the word hai. So we'll say hai rather than si. So for example, if you say I'm not, so in Mandarin you'd say 不是, which is not. The Cantonese equivalent is 不是. However, that sounds so proper. Cantonese people will never really say that. We'll say 唔係. Or if you want to ask if something is something, you'd be like, in Mandarin, 是不是? But then in Cantonese, you'd say 係唔係 or 係咪, even less standard than 係唔係. I don't even know if 係 is a word in Mandarin. Let me just... Apparently it is.
Si.
係 in Mandarin is 是. 是. So I've never heard that ever in Mandarin, but I guess that's a word. Next word, to know. In Mandarin, you'll use the word 會, which means to know. But then in Cantonese, you'll use the word 識 more often than you'll use the word 會. In Mandarin, they have that word as well. It's just they don't use it in as many contexts as we do in Cantonese. For example, do you know how to do something? It's 會不會. Or if you want to say, can you do something? That's 能不能. In Cantonese, it'd be 你得唔得, or it's 你識唔識. Sometimes we'll say 你能唔能, but then like we won't usually say 能不能 or 能唔能. They're just hard to say, right? It doesn't roll off the tongue as easily as 得唔得 or 識唔識. So the next word would be any group of people. So like either we, them, 我們, or 他們. Both mean us or them. Whereas in Cantonese, we'll use they. The Cantonese equivalent of 我們 and 他們 is 我們, 他們, but then you'll only ever see that written or in a song or something like that. Instead, we'll use 我哋 or 佢哋. I don't think that's actually a word in Mandarin, so 哋 is only found in Cantonese. To think. So in Mandarin, they'll use the word 想, which is either to think or to want or to miss. But then in Cantonese, we do have that word, 我想, but then we'll never say 我想 as a way of saying I think. You'll just say 我諗, which means the same thing. There is a Mandarin way of saying it, and it's 想, I think. 想, I don't know. But I've never heard that ever, and I just found it on Google, so I don't know if any Mandarin people can verify if they actually heard that word before. Next word, to be tired. The Mandarin word is 累, right? 我很累. And then in Cantonese, the direct translation of that word is 累. But then we never use that word either. So we use the word 攰 instead of the word 累. Another word that Mandarin people use that Cantonese people don't use is the word 才, which basically means if you want to say something like I'll only do that before I do this. No, I'll only do that after I do this. It's kind of like that conjunction between the two sentences. So like if you want to say, I can only eat dessert if I eat my vegetables, right? It's the eating dessert is reliant on eating vegetables, right? So in Cantonese, we'll use the word "xin," which directly translates to first, right? 我食完菜先可以食雪糕, right? Next word, stuff. So in Mandarin, you'll use the word 东西, which means stuff, but directly translates to east west. So I don't know. But then in Cantonese, instead of using 东西, which some people do, but I mean like only if you've seen it written, which I've only ever seen written or in a song or maybe like on like a newspaper or something like that. Instead we'll use the word 爷. I've never seen that in Mandarin ever. So you use, like, instead of saying like 你太多东西了, you have too much stuff, you'd say 你太多嘢了. Just 爷 versus 东西, or 爷 versus 东西. A word of encouragement in Mandarin, you'd say something like 厉害, which is basically like good job, nice. In Cantonese, we don't say that word that often. Instead, we'll say 犀利 or 好嘢. Both mean good job, way to go, you go girl. Those are the main like general stuff, and here's just like two random ones I thought of on the spot. So for red envelope, you know, like during New Year's, birthday, Christmas, whatever, you get the little red envelope. In Mandarin, you would say, you would call it literally a red envelope, which is 红包, 红包, I think. 红包, yeah. In Mandarin, red envelope would be 红包, which is 红包 in Cantonese. But then in Cantonese, we don't say 红包, we say 利是. And that's just something different, right? So we say 利是 instead of 红包, which is the direct transliteration from Mandarin. And the last thing, Mandarin, the word for pervert is 变态, which in Cantonese is 变态, which sometimes we do say, but we don't usually use it as a word pervert. Instead, we'll use the word 鹹濕, which literally translates to salty wet, which I guess kind of makes sense. But yeah, those are just some of the examples that are differences between Mandarin and Cantonese, just in like everyday speech. There are definitely a lot more I can come up with, but those are kind of like more specific and like maybe that has to do with food or maybe has to do with some other thing. So next time when you're speaking Cantonese, use these words and use the Cantonese versions instead of the Mandarin versions, and then people won't notice, and then you can be like that secret agent and pretending that you spoke Cantonese your entire life. Hope this helps. Have a good day.